And we're live on the Metal Lab. It has happened, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting cold down in hell. Pigs are flying north of the border after 6 long years of Canadian Nationals. A Canadian has won it, and he's joining me today on the Metal Lab. With me is Mr. Devin Owens. How's it going, Devin?
Hi. Going well.
I didn't warn
Long drive back yesterday, but other than that,
I didn't warn Devin about that intro, so that's why he's like, "Oh my God, what is he doing?"
it was a good one.
It was, yeah. So Canadian Nationals was this past weekend. It was a heck of a trip, and I'm happy to have Devin here. Unfortunately, Mike is still on set on his new job. Tom had to make some concessions, and as a result, is working late today, so couldn't join us. And Jay is still on his hiatus until August. So Devin was wonderful enough to help me out today, and as a result, we get to squeeze in that little champ chat sort of thing that we do. So Devin, this is not his first big championship. He's also 1/3 of this the 2018 Team World Championships. So
Yes, the 1/3 of a Canadian World Championship.
There we go. 1/3 is still a piece. So when it comes to having a new champion on, we like to get a little bit of history. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out a few things myself about Devin because I don't get out in the community as much as I do. And even though Devin is a regular to the community, I haven't gotten a lot of his past. Devin, how long have you been playing HeroClix, and how long have you been playing competitively?
So playing HeroClix in general, I played when I was a kid. My cousin was like really into comics and loved superheroes, and started playing. He's from England, so we only got to see him every couple of years. But whenever we saw each other, he would bring his HeroClix. We would go to Comic Warehouse actually, and we would pick up singles because they were the only places we knew with singles. And my parents didn't want to pay for sealed product, and there were some pretty cheap singles. Right, it was like $2 for a figure or something.
Yeah.
It's like you'd get $20. You can spend it on whatever combination of singles you want. We didn't know the rules at all. We thought action tokens were really dumb, because why would superheroes take damage for acting 2 turns in a row? That doesn't make any sense. They're superheroes. That's really dumb. We thought you could move and then make attacks just without powers. So running shot would let you do it twice because it counted as your move action, and then you could separately make an attack, so you could make 2 attacks. It made Secret Invasion Hercules the most ridiculously overpowered character in the game.
Yeah.
Because in our version of the rules, he could charge Flurry with 2 heavy objects, and then normally he could make 4 attacks and turn for like 27 damage or something. Yeah. And then I just didn't have anybody to play with, really dropped out of it for a while. Until second year university at Waterloo. I didn't love Waterloo, and I wanted to pick up a hobby of some kind. Marvel Unlimited had recently come out, and I'd picked that up, so I'd gotten back into reading comics, and I was like really into comics. I'd played Warhammer all through high school, but it was time-consuming and really expensive, and I didn't want to like buy paints and stuff and build a workspace. So I was like, let's just try playing HeroClix again. And I went to a store in Waterloo that plays, although they don't do anything win sanctioned or anything. I actually talked to them again right after I won. They saw the post and messaged me. I haven't talked to them in a while. Eventually I left Waterloo, moved to Toronto, found Wizards Cash, started playing competitively only at that point. That was 2 and a bit years ago at this point. My first competitive event ever was Ontario Provincials. Mike Payne built my entire team because I knew nothing about the meta. I showed up with what did he build me? Mary Marvel, Freddie Mercury,
Freddie Freeman?
Freddie Freeman, yeah, that one. I don't remember that character's name. A full battery and like something else. I can't remember what else was on it. And that was my first ever competitive tournament.
Awesome.
And then I kept playing Mary Marvel for like the next year because she was good. And I didn't know any other pieces.
It's so funny how very many parallels that we have that actually kind of intersected and weaved at weird points. Because, of course, I'm a regular at the warehouse myself. You started at the warehouse, but I think would have been that weird point where I wasn't playing there. And then
maybe. I'm not sure I ever actually played there.
Fair.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh! There when I was a kid a couple times.
Okay.
But I don't think I ever actually played HeroClix in like an organized setting of any kind as a kid.
Makes sense.
Just against my brother and my cousin.
So that said, you did it finally. Took the curse away of Americans winning Canadian Nationals. Take us through what it took to get there. Your practice regime, and spare us no details as to your maniacal team switching all through Friday and Saturday, because that stressed me out.
Yeah. So as far as practice goes, for like a couple weeks before, Emily and Jay and I like to play test a lot. Although playtesting against Vulture isn't always the most useful thing, still, I like to do it. So I'd playtested this Kobik Trader Starfire Voyager team, and I thought it was okay until I went to an Ottawa WKO the weekend before Canadian Nationals, where I proceeded to go 0-3. I did not win a game. I realized the team was probably bad, and that I was probably playing it incorrectly. And I was like, I don't think I should play this at Canadian Nationals. Let's do something else. So on like the Tuesday of the week leading up to Canadian Nationals, I sent a message to our group chat that was just a list of every figure I thought was good in Modern. And I was like, anybody have extra things that I should add to this? And Tom added Starro that I'd forgotten to put on the list, and I just went through the list and I made like 6 or 7 different teams, and on like, I think it was like Wednesday night or something, I posted all of those to the group chat and was like, what do people think I should play? And got some feedback on that. Ended up just bringing every piece for all of them to Canadian Nationals. But by the time I got in there, I'd eliminated a couple just in my head. I was like, I don't want to play that. So I eliminated a few before I actually got there. I playtested a Starro on Thursday night that was just bad because mind control doesn't do anything when nobody has any printed damage. So I was like, I was facing Kobik Trader, I'm mind controlled and hit, and I was like, don't do anything. Okay, go. I'll try to roll to break away to shoot your Colossal with a Trader, and then die. Yeah, so I didn't want to play Starro in the end. Even though I think he's a good figure in general, just really in this particular metagame just doesn't work. So we got to Canadian Nationals on Friday. Scott Crampton was there, and he wanted to play test a bit, so I played one playtest game with Scott Crampton and playtested the team that I ended up playing in actual Canadian Nationals proper. And I was like, okay, this is a good team. It's solid. I don't think it does anything like ridiculously broken, but it's good. So let's keep that in my back pocket. If I playtest all of my other teams and I decide that they're not good enough, I'll go back to that one, and that's what I'll play. So then that night, when everybody else showed up, I did a playtest game against Mike with my mystical theme team, which was basically just like as many probs and perplexes I could stuff onto one team. It was like 6 perplexes and 3 probs or something. And it just didn't work at all. It was bad. I don't know why that keyword isn't good. It really does seem like it should be, but
I kind of know the answer on that one, and it's the design focus of everything is a glass cannon, and it's very glass.
Yeah, and just no mobility, generally. It's like, okay, so you have Raven who can carry, and Daredevil can hypersonic, and everything else is static. No sidestep, even. Like, if Sheriff Strange had sidestep, it might be, like, significantly more playable. But it just didn't work. So then we went to the next day, which was Qualifiers Day. I decided to play in the Constructed Qualifier because I needed to play test a little bit more. I played a Kobik Sheriff Strange double Miss Marvel Retaliator team, which was sort of a play on Isaac's U.S. Nationals team, where he swapped Mystic's team ability and retaliated with Mangog. And it felt fine, but not great. It also had Skull with Spectral Ring, because he can just ping things from across the map. And while that was a lot of fun, it didn't actually seem that good. It was good. I could kill retaliators from across the map and stuff, but it was just really slow because he doesn't have willpower. You have to take a turn to equip. I was unthemed, so I was probably going second, so really my opponent was getting 2 turns before I got to do anything if all I did was equip on my first turn, and then could just, if I rolled leadership, ping something on second turn, maybe. It just didn't seem good enough, so I reverted back to my Elders of the Universe team that I playtested once against Scott, and decided to play that going into the Sunday.
Fair enough. So the Sunday itself, you're pre-qualified, much like quite a few of us, and you got a little practice, like you said, on the Saturday. How How are you feeling confident going into Sunday with the team, or do you still have some doubts on it?
Oh, I definitely had some doubts on that team. So the team that I ended up playing was a Gardener, 2 Traders, a Collector, a Mangog, a Groot, and a Flora Colossus with the Nightbringer ring for Gardener, because when Gardener has Free Smoke Cloud, you can carry him across the map. He can Free Smoke Cloud within his range and then make an attack targeting somebody in the square that he Free Smoke Clouded. So it adds a little bit of an Alpha Strike element to a team that's otherwise fairly control-y and heavily positional, which actually worked out really well. I was looking at it and I was like, well, so I only have one thing that can actually call in most of my call-ins. I had one Rusty who was low enough points to be called in by anything else, but other than that, it was just Collector. I thought it was good. So the team was partially inspired by a team that Dustin Cedars played at a Winamap last week, where he played almost the same thing, but he played an Unseen instead of the Collector that I played. And I think one less ID or something to make up the point difference. I thought it was good. My biggest worry was that I would get stuck on an open map against a Kobik Unseen, because while I thought I matched up against Kobik reasonably well in general, one of the main reasons that my team was at all survivable is that you can't outwit me, and I have heavy reducers. So you have like one Psychic Blast call in on your side of the map, and that's it. As a Kobik team, you're not going to be running to my side of the map, so Cyclops probably isn't getting Psychic Blast. And if you do run to my side of the map, I'd go steal your blue cube and double token you. I'm okay with that. Yeah, so I was really worried about that. The reason that I decided to play it was that the other matchups I thought it did really well in were Vulture, because I have a Collector, I have huge theme on you, you're not getting your object, it's just not going to happen, and I have heavy enough reducers that even if you perplex up Vulture's damage as much as you possibly can, you can't get through my reducers enough to kill one of my characters. So I felt pretty good about that matchup. And one of the other teams that I was really worried about going in was facing Double Astronomer. And I had a high enough theme that I had a chance of beating them on mat, at which point I was pretty much totally set. But also, if you're playing 2 Traders, you can play 2 Space Gems on the Traders, run across the map, and trade for the Power Gems. And then you have invulnerability still. They're only dealing 3 damage.
Yeah.
So they can ping you a little bit if they want, but you have Retaliators sitting in the back, so do they really want to be doing that at that point? Like, I felt like that was just a very good matchup just because of the ability to take away the Power Gems. And that actually turned out to work pretty well in one of my later games. And if I did win map roll against a Kobik Unseen, I felt pretty good about it, because really if the Unseen can't see, I'm not that threatened by it, and I can just pick Underground Cavern. And I expected to have map roll bonus on any Kobik Unseen team I faced, because those 2 characters by themselves are such a huge point value sink that unless they're playing like 4 Floras, at which point I'm probably less worried about them, I'm probably going to win that.
Okay. Now, through the matchups, you went 100% undefeated,
Yes.
Which was impressive. It was 5 rounds of Swiss, followed by the 3 rounds of single elimination after they cut the top 8. Were there any matches in particular where you felt like things could have swung one way or another?
Oh, absolutely. My top 4 match with Patricia was the swingiest match of all time. Okay, so I've run across... So I'm facing Kobik Unseen, which was a matchup I really didn't want to face. And I have a +1 on her. She wins map. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to do in this matchup. If I lose map, this is really bad. I'll just try something. So I ran across the map with my Gardener. I killed her Groot, and I just positioned so that I could do stuff the next turn. She killed my Gardener immediately. I ran down. I stole her blue cube. I did some stuff. I killed her Trader eventually. She killed one of my Traders. To kill my Trader, she had to leave her Jean Grey on the map, which meant that I could retaliate. But she has an Unseen. She has 2 probs against me, so I'm having an 8 attack. So I perplex down her Kobik's defense with my Collector and my remaining Trader, and I retaliate. And I need an 8 to hit her Kobik. She misses her shape change. I roll dice. I roll an 8. She probs me. I roll an 8. She probs me. I roll a crit. Kills her entire team.
Whoa.
I win the game. I just sat there and I was like, I'm so sorry about that. Like, that was really dumb. Like, if I hadn't crit there or hit at all, it was still possible for me to win the game. Like, maybe the next turn I could have done some Kobic Cube shenanigans with my stolen Kobic Cube to go down, call out a Cyclops, and kill her unseen. But he would have had to fail his super senses, and then she would have probably had a turn to go for the kill on one of my remaining 2 characters and pull back into the lead on points. So that one retaliation was just like, okay, sorry, I win the game now.
Yeah.
Nothing she could do about it. She had all the probs that she needed, and it just didn't work.
Okay. Any highlights you kind of take away from the entire weekend? As far, I mean, obviously you won. That's a big highlight.
That's a big highlight.
But any highlights over the whole weekend? Atmosphere, other people, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love hanging out with the Team Pusheen guys, and it's always really good seeing Patricia, and I had fun playtesting with Scott Crampton and Isaac and Ed. So I got to meet and talk to a lot of people that I hadn't talked to that much before, and get to know them a little better, which was really nice.
Awesome. So overall, we were all there for the weekend, and it was like Devin said, it was a great weekend. I have very, very little to complain about as far as playing HeroClix and enjoying myself and hanging out with this community. Those are the major saving graces on the weekend, to say the least. It was a little rough, and there's been a lot of years where it's very easy to point blame as to what went wrong. This year, we are not met with this problem. There was a massive issue when we arrived there. We were told that the Canadian Nationals was shipped 2017, 2018 prices. Little bit of a hard pill to swallow when you first start things up. And that kind of took what we foresaw as this is going to be an awesome week, this is going to be an awesome weekend, and then by the time you hit that, it drains almost the entire energy out of the room. For that matter, though, we're HeroClix players. We found a way to enjoy ourselves and whatnot. This was a distributor level issue, where it's not on Carta Magica. They did not get the Woolly Mammoths, but they did get the other con-exclusive purchasables. Thank goodness. The things we could get over the shelf were made available. But pricing was last year's pricing, which, when you have a year like Devin, and you have a year like myself and Amber, all those ID cards are just plastic to us anymore. Or, if you've been playing in any competitive amount, like a lot of those ID cards you have in multitudes, especially the Professor X and Colossus. We have a game surrounding those now. It's only going to escalate in Memphis, too. We all know this. But it's that big feel bad where, we were excited for this other part of it. It's like, yes, I'm going to get some Mandarin rings. And I had talked to my buddy Aiden, who drove us down, like, okay, I'm going to do my best to try to get you an extra copy of X ring just in case we need to use it while you're doing the qualifiers if you don't happen to get it in those. Because I was planning on doing Battle Royales until I was out of money.
Yep, I played 0.
I played 2 because I was bored.
Yeah, it's not usually the reason you end up playing Battle Royales.
And you know what, Black Panther, there was a couple figures I was missing. I would have done some more Rebirth ones, but I'm the only guy who seemed to be missing anything from Rebirth. I get it. I probably could have just bought some packs over the counter, to be honest, and would have just been fine. Or said, hey, sign me up for a Battle Royale. Just me. The entire Battle Royale. That aside, this hurts the reputation of Canadian Nationals. That's already kind of been waning in the past couple of years, A lot of people had issues with the pre-ordering. They got away from that. They don't do that anymore. But, in previous years, people had a lot of issues and have cited Carta Magica as the issue, and they fixed all of their problems this year, and then the distributor messes them up. And it's like, guys, they had it this year. Like, I would have... and all of this kind of didn't... What didn't help this was that, the hotel thought the air conditioner was working. Were you in there?
Yeah, I mean, last year there was a power outage, right?
Yeah.
And it was still just about as hot during the power outage as it was normally.
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's not much hotter in here. Oh no, now it's getting hotter. I definitely noticed a difference after, like, I think it took about 10 minutes of the power outage. Like, oh man, oh boy. But that being said, I'm not placing blame on any one party, but an investigation has to occur, and somebody has to figure this out, because this is embarrassing to us as Canadians and Canadian nationals, and to Carta Magica. Carta Magica just wants to put on a good show. It was hard enough for them because they also were very late with the announcement. We've talked about that to death. We're over that. But when they can't have the prizes, like, proper preparation prevents poor performance. And they did most of the preparation work that they needed, but part of the preparation on the parts of other parties wasn't presented with them, and that hurts us a lot as players. That hurts everybody who traveled. I mean, it hurts Carta Magica because they can't sell Battle Royale packs. They can't make some money off of that. It hurts us because we have a harder time having fun when everything just kind of feels up in the air. Like, for one, they're trying to arrange for all of us to get some degree of prizing. And I appreciate that, but I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean? And so without being overtly negative, this did feel rough, feel bad, and it felt embarrassing both on behalf of Carta Magica and on behalf of being the country that, it took me like 6 years to finally get people to stop saying WizKids hates Canada, and that's going to pop up again. And now Carta Magica next year is going to run WizKids HeroClix Nationals. And you know what the first post on the Facebook page is going to be? Are you guys going to have the prizes? And that's, that sucks. That really does. So I really hope something happens to benefit Carta Magica, to benefit the players who all made their way out there and kind of felt cheated to a certain degree on what was supposed to be something really awesome. So I hate to drain that out of the room. So now we're going to get back up into the fun. And talk about... Devin, have you seen all of the Star Trek stuff yet?
I don't know.
All right.
I've seen a lot of it, but I don't know if I've looked at all of it.
Okay, well, what I'll do while we're here is I'm going to take a second to share a bunch of links with Devin, because unfortunately the way we screen share now, I no longer do it on Google Hangouts. I do it via OBS. So I'm going to find our Facebook chat. You got? Because there's 4 Star Trek things to work off.
Yeah, I will need that link.
So I'm going to send you like 4 pics.
Okay.
Basically, so there's Devin Owens' chat. Here's one of them. This is going to be the first one we talk about. This is going to be the second one we talk about. It's exciting times to see some Star Trek stuff on the same kind of following up the week that we saw the Picard trailer, because I'm so hyped for that show now. Oh man.
Yeah.
Like, originally the whole winery ad that they did, it was cute and all, don't get me wrong.
Didn't tell you anything about the show.
Told us nothing. Yeah. Alright, this next one's gonna be in 2 pictures because it's off of Facebook. I want to take a second to thank both WizKids and the Dial H for HeroClix guys. There's a lot of cool stuff that kind of showed up on Facebook and social media over the week that was really cool to see. And I believe... we have a couple here. Awesome things. The anticipation must be killing you as I talk my way through. Hey, Devin, look at this.
There will be things.
There's going to be some stuff. It's all Star Trek related this week. With any luck, we'll see some WWE stuff. Star Trek: The Next Generation, as a matter of fact, before I lose track of that, it actually comes out Wednesday. Surprise!
Yeah, I had no idea until Jay told me in the car on Friday.
Yeah. And so, if you're asking or you're wondering, it's not very likely that we're running an unboxing of this. But that's not to say we might take the product that we do get our hands on and crack it open on camera. Who knows? But it will not be a WizKids sponsored unboxing this time around, this show around. But I have done all the stuff. I've handed Devin all the stuff, so he's got stuff to work with. So we're going to go over to our lovely little preview monitor. Actually, this is this one here. and it is all set up properly for us to look at the Borg search party. So it's got the keywords of Borg and robot. Its trait, you will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. When Borg Search Party KOs an opposing character after resolutions, roll a d6. On a 5 to 6, you may generate a figure number 002A Borg drone on click 4 in that character's square. That generated character has autonomous this turn. Ooh. Special attack power is secret programming, penetrating psychic blast. Free, choose a friendly character that's adjacent or has the Borg keyword. This turn, that character modifies range by +2 and can use ignores hindering. This comes in at 45 points and has the Borg team ability. When an adjacent friendly character is KO'd after resolutions, you may roll a d6. If you do, heal this character equal to the result -2, minimum 1. Devin, what do you think of the Borg search party?
He seems like a decent little support piece for if you're playing some casual Borg themed team or something.
Yeah.
Doesn't look great. He's fine enough.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where, like, it looks great when you read that trait, but it's like, oh, but you got to do this, and you got to get a kill, and you got to do a bunch of other things.
And really, okay, my biggest issue is always when they just put phasing on people's opening clicks. Just on phasing teleport. It's just not a good. Then you get sidestep. Sidestep is great. I love sidestep.
Can we flip that?
I'd rather not have the phasing. He only has 4 range. When are you ever going to be in range to shoot with this guy?
Yeah. When you have another Borg search party beside him?
True. Yeah, you just gotta make your actual multi-man Borg search party. Got him to 7 whole range.
Yeah. All right, let's see if the next one improves on the show, though. We have Q. There's a lot of people talking about Q. This is a super rare with the Cosmic, Deity, and Past keyword. He has his first trait, a game to test if you are worthy of the greatest gift the Q can offer. What a wordy... Expect this wordy power naming from a character like Q. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the game, generate a number of alien soldier bystanders corresponding to Q's point number. So for 300, if you pay 300 points for Q, you get 4 alien soldiers. If you spend 225, you get 3. If you spend 125, you get 2. If you spend 50, you get none. This game shall in fact be completely unfair. Q isn't a standard character, can't be equipped or a pilot. At the beginning of your turn, if there's no d6 on this card, roll a d6 and place it on this card. When a character within range rolls an attack roll or rolls for super senses, you may remove the d6 from this card and replace a die in the roll with it. So kind of like a Trelane Light. Or actually a Trelane Heavy. Who am I kidding?
Trelane Heavy, for sure.
Yeah, a heavier version of Trelane, which is why he's 50 and only 1 click.
Yeah.
And his special defense power, which he has on all 11 clicks of his dial, or all clicks of his dial, regardless of what you pay for it. To use a 20th century term, she's in the penalty box where she will be unharmed unless... and that gives him Mastermind and Super Senses. Once per turn, when an opposing character attacks Q, after resolutions, you may place a penalty box marker in their square. At the end of their turn, remove the penalty box marker. Characters occupying a penalty box marker have immobile. When an attack targeting Q misses, deal a character occupying a penalty box marker 1 penetrating damage. And then he's got a special damage power, once again, on every single click that he has. Fairness is such a human concept. Think imaginatively. It gives him probability control and shape change. Okay, there's a lot to take in here. Also, the alien soldiers have 6 movement, 10 attack with Psychic Blast, 16 defense with Invulnerable, and they are autonomous. And they also have a trait that says alien soldiers can't be given an action if they have 1 action token, so you can't push them.
You cannot push them to death.
No. So, Devin, what's your takeaway on Q? He's pretty cool, but...
So I think my takeaway on Q is I'll believe it when I see it. I like him, but I just don't know if he's quite there. 1 click is just scary.
Yeah.
Like, he has Mastermind and Super Senses and Shape Change, and that's hard to get through, but like a Pulse Wave that hits everything, a Tri-Sentinel, any call-in, if you're facing a Kobik Unseen, there are so many ways right now to get around it that I'm not sure I see him at being successful at 50, possibly played. He is a very, very good support piece. Like, the ability to swap out Super Senses rolls is awesome. If you're allowing him to roll the Super Senses and you have Wakanda map bonus, he effectively gets to roll Super Senses like 3 times in a turn with his trait and the reroll from Wakanda, which could make him very, very hard to KO. But I'm just not quite convinced. He is really, he's almost really, really good, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, one of the big things I also missed that he's got the Q continuum team ability, which is power cosmic. The fact that you do have that extra Trelane effect, I feel like is really good, like you were saying, and I kind of want to see it to believe it. But I think for the most part, he is going to be one of those guys that stays in the back and attracts people into your back area and then forces you to kind of, or gives you that opportunity. He's kind of a meaty target, so he might actually cause people to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
It's definitely possible that he's playable.
Yeah.
Not sure.
I mean, I think one of the big things will be if you happen to score a 5 or 6 on his dice.
Yeah, totally.
Because then you're getting that shape change, then you're getting that miss, then you're putting somebody in the penalty box. So, and they're stuck no longer being an issue. You can go deal with other problems while they're in the penalty box. So,
yeah, I think I really just have to see how hard he actually is to kill.
Yeah,
because he looks like he can be really hard to kill, but looking like you can be really hard to kill and actually being really hard to kill is sometimes a very different thing.
What I want to witness is the moment where that one-click character does do the triple target incapacitate.
I mean, he has the 3 printed damage, too. He's not even a half-bad secondary attacker.
Yeah. So.
He's definitely good.
And he can call in.
Yeah, 50 points.
Yeah. So. All right.
It's just whether he dies on turn 2 every game or not.
Yeah, exactly. that is a big factor in it. All right, so we move next to the Borg Queen, the one who is many. This is a title character. Our first look at a title character in this set, I believe. Yeah. So she'll have title abilities. We'll talk about it. She's got the Borg team ability, which, if there's a friendly adjacent character who dies, you can heal her up. She is indomitable, which is not as frequent in title characters as I would like it to be, but a good sign. She comes in 100 points. It is a 7-click dial with with regeneration at the end. So it doesn't get one shot by Cyclops with +3. Let's take a look at the plot abilities. She starts with 0 plot points, like a lot of Star Trek characters do. And of course, she takes 1 damage if she doesn't attack when she's used a plot point, which with sidestep is a little bit annoying. 8 range though, so it's pretty lengthy range. It's just coupled with sidestep, not great. When Borg Queen, the one who is many, is KO'd, opposing characters can use Outwit on their turn. Don't die. All right.
It's only on their next turn.
Yeah. Isn't this easier is her +1 ability. Free, choose one, move, or close, or range. Actions of the chosen type given to friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Borg keyword don't count against your action total this turn. So it's really about moving the Borg. She's very Borg focused apparently. Transporter trait, which a lot of the captains had from the first set, -X. Free, choose a character on your sideline with the Borg keyword and a starting line for that character. You may pay 1 plot point plus 1 plot point per 10 points of 10 full points of character's cost to place that character in the starting line in an unoccupied square within 6 squares and line of fire. A force may only have 1 character placed by this effect on the map at a time. So you pay 5, as I have an example here, where you pay 5 plot points to get a 40 to 49 point character. So you could get like a Borg search party with her, as an example, for 5 plot points. Her other one, Assimilation. Choose a character from an opponent's KO area. You may pay 1 plot point.
Refer to KO areas specifically.
Yeah.
I feel like there aren't very many. There's the Green Lantern. How many effects refer to KO areas specifically?
I think just the one.
There's Elseworld, Green Lantern, and this, and that's it?
I think that's it.
Interesting.
I mean, Raising the Dead isn't really a HeroClix thing. It's a Magic thing.
Yeah.
You may pay 1 plot point per 10 points, and then you can put them down. So if they have like a 50-point character and you had 6 plot points, you can get a 50-point character.
It's exactly Transporter, but for opposing.
Yeah. For dead opposing things.
Dead opposing, yes.
So what do you think of the Borg Queen?
Okay, so let's look at her plot abilities in order. So her +1 is interesting. It incentivizes you to play a swarm of some kind fairly heavily, really, because giving one character that's the only character taking an action autonomous effectively isn't actually useful. And you can't do power actions, so it's really just to move up or actually make attacks.
So to kind of address that, just because I don't think I mentioned it, she is Borg, Robot, and Ruler keywords.
Yes. Yeah, so if you were playing her with, like, if it could do power actions, then it could be really cool with, like, Isaac on a robot theme team or something. But because it's only move closer range, it's not actually useful for that. So really all it does is swarms, and swarms suck right now because there's a vulture.
Yep.
So I'm not sure about that one. So really what you're looking at that as is mostly ramping up towards the others. Transporter is not great unless there's something that we see with the Borg keyword that's really, really good and very low points that you don't want to play on your starting force. I really don't see it being played. Assimilation is the one that's actually interesting. The really big thing with assimilation is that if you can throw something out and KO an opposing retaliator, then now you have an opposing retaliator. That's
now your retaliator.
Exactly. That's the really good effect there. Is it good enough for her to see play? I don't know, but it is really potentially strong. So I'm interested.
It would be interesting to have some kind of effect that finds a way to make title characters accumulate plot points faster. But at the same time, it's that situation where a lot of people complained about title characters at first. And it's like, guys, what? These guys are not that great.
We need to proliferate in HeroClix.
Yeah, I think we've had one that really became competitive. Thanks, Tom. And you, I'm sure, helped him come up with that maniacal idea.
What, the Gotham City team?
Yeah, the Gotham City with
that was all him.
Okay, that was all him. All right. But yeah, so I think that's like the first major appearance I've seen, like, and really dominant appearance of a title character so far. And I don't we have to see.
Batgirl is so the only other useful title character, really. I'm sure I'm actually forgetting something, and somebody's going to mention this, but is Harley as a call-in.
Well,
she's a very, very good call-in. She's a fairly good main force character. But
there have been ideas with the Captain America I've seen.
Title cap with Hawks is very, very good. I want a WKO with that. Tom top 8 at a WKO with the Captain Marvel one and just a bunch of barrier until she could become 150 points instead of 75. But I don't know that it's actually good enough to play seriously.
Yeah. All right. Next up, let's do that. Now, these ones came from a trade show, so bear with me as I am clicking through a Facebook album on this one. But we're going to start, and thanks again to Dial H for HeroClix, guys, for sharing this. We have Lieutenant Commander Data, and this is our first character with the holodeck named keyword. Also has Starfleet, Detective, and Robot. He is a shifting focus Data, so there will be
have
other
we seen
Datas.
Any of the others? Do you know?
I haven't seen any of the others.
I haven't, but I didn't know whether they had been previewed.
They haven't been officially previewed. There might be some out there. Some people have some open product. I haven't had a good, solid look at a lot of the characters out there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but I can't wait to get a hold of them because some of the stuff looks fun. I love Star Trek Next Generation, and maybe something squeaks its way into one of my teams. His first trait. What's that?
This is a good candidate already, even without knowing what the other shifting focus ones are. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we have our adversary is none other than Professor Moriarty himself. When an opposing character within 6 squares would use Outwit, Perplex, or Probability Control, you and that opponent each roll 2d6, and you add Lieutenant Commander Data's deduction tokens. If your result is higher, instead that opposing character can't use that power this turn, and Lieutenant Commander Data gets a deduction token. So he kind of gets smarter and smarter as he goes. He's a learning machine, guys. Wow, this is one piece of a. I want to see what the other pieces of shifting focus look like now, because that's a trait.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
He's got a special movement power. Come, Watson, the game is afoot, which gives him sidestep and stealth. If you haven't caught on, he's dressed like Sherlock Holmes. And he's got a special damage power. Elementary, my dear Geordie. Probability control. When Lieutenant Commander Data uses it, the result can't be further re-rolled.
Very
Wow.
Yeah, so that is awesome, especially because if you look at the robot keyword, there's not a lot of prob floating around, so you're very unlikely to have two probs on the same robot team anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really no detriment to you. It's just a bonus.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it prevents you from playing two of them at the same time, I guess, but I don't think you were doing that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, if you play two of them, you get two different actions. You get the final say on both occurrences.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, also, just like playing two of them and just like moving forward, it's like, okay, so now when you try to use that, we roll 2d6 twice. If I roll higher than you on either time, you can use that power.
Yeah, and I'm going to make it harder next turn.
Yeah. If there's like if one of the other datas has like better defenses,
we're in for trouble. We're in for trouble.
Or leadership.
Oh.
Because robot's kind of missing leadership. If you had a shifting focus, leadership, and prob, which is like two of the things that robot is really missing, that could be really, really good.
Unfortunately, given the character that we're talking about, and I have to go to the game design note, I don't think Data's going to get leadership, but
it does seem unlikely.
Yeah, there is a possibility that he does, and
but even alone, he's very good.
So good, definitely deserving of being a super rare in a single figure set. he's going to be sought after, I think, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I am interested in attempting a robot team again. So the downsides here are limiting the trait to 6 squares. Yeah. People will be out of range of that quite frequently. You're going to need to be... So you're almost... Okay, if you're playing a robot team, you're playing Isaac. Like, I don't think there is such a thing as a robot-themed team that does not include an Isaac right now. No. So... you can at least force your opponent to come over nearer to you because they need to get through your barrier. Yeah, no, I think he's okay. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
But he could become even better if there are good other shifting focus variants.
Yeah. So just to peek at the dial, he's 5 clicks, but he's 50 points. He's got the Starfleet team ability, so that's like Avengers. He's also indomitable. He's a robot, so I'm pretty sure all versions are going to be indomitable. He doesn't really show signs of getting tired, per se.
Yeah. And he's exactly 50 points, so great call-in battery.
Yep.
Although you already have a great call-in battery with Isaac on that team as well. Yep. I mean, Isaac has to be taking actions to bring out the barrier pog most of the time, so...
I mean, if Sheriff Strange does start to show his head, both of them can start, like, overlapping.
Yep, exactly.
So, all right. Next up, Locutus of Borg. With the Borg, robot, and soldier keywords. I am Locutus of Borg. From this time forward, you will service us. Friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Borg keyword can use steal energy. If they can already use steal energy when they use it and heal, they heal an additional click. And then the second trait, attacking the Enterprise. Friendly characters that are adjacent or have the Borg keyword modify attack +2 when attacking only characters with Starfleet keyword. Super rare figure. He's got the Borg team ability, and he's got this 6-click dial with Indomitable at 75 points, with some outwit, some Psychic Blast, and whatnot. What do you think of Locutus of Borg, Devin?
I am not a fan of things that refer to specific keywords that your opponents have. Mm-hmm. It happened. So, if somebody was playing sealed of this set, which you can't really because it's not a booster set, it would be good, probably. But in normal constructed, no, it's not really that useful. Giving people steal energy isn't that great of a power. It's fine. It's not exceptional. Could be great for just like a casual Borg swarm of some kind, but not really going to be useful competitively, I don't think. And his dial itself is okay-ish. He's fine. He's not great.
Mm-hmm. Again, like you said, this is going to be great when you and your buddies are playing a Star Trek game, and it's like, Starfleet versus Borg, awesome! And,
then it's going to be awesome, yeah.
And he's super rare because everybody wants a Locutus of Borg. Let's not
Absolutely. Oh, I still want this figure a lot. Yeah. Is he good? Not necessarily. Yeah. Do I want him? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. If there was some way of... I'm just going to go ahead and go back to this. If there was some way of forcing a keyword on my opponent, we might be talking.
Keyword cheating for opposing figures.
Why? I don't see why not. I mean, there's a lot of effects that you want to be able to use that with, and strategically, as a HeroClix player who thinks in a game that is competitively charged, then yeah, I do kind of want stuff like that to exist. It would be neat, all of a sudden I forced my opponent to become Starfleet officers. Why am I a Starfleet officer? That kind of stuff happens in Star Trek all the time.
That's true, actually.
But that said, I mean, with what we're seeing your typical Star Trek stuff. Q and Data intrigue me a lot, for sure. And I can't wait to see what other Datas we get out of the set.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that'll really push that figure over the edge, I think. I think he's already playable just as himself, but if there's one that's actually a good attacker of some kind, although I don't know why he would be really, or great defensively so that at least you can defend yourself well when you're not using those other abilities because they're too far away or something, he's going to be really good.
Yeah. I do want to reinvestigate to see quickly or at some point if Detective has a chance, because that's a Detective Data now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, not in Modern, I don't think, but
there's some stuff.
Sure.
There's Batman's a detective. I mean, there's that. No, but there's no real great Batman.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem right now. I think for Detective, there's literally just like Title Batgirl and Data for now, which isn't really an entire team.
Yeah, no. It's pieces of...
Two great figures, but not a team.
Yeah, all right. So our focus now turns... you being the conquering hero of Canada, good job. Now... forget all about. Let's go to talk Worlds. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, Worlds is around the corner now because it is July. Next week we have our WK. I don't think we have anything else major coming along besides Worlds in September. It's exciting times to start getting planning. Do you think there's a chance for any shifts coming from what we get in Regenesis and Star Trek? I mean, Star Trek still has to show itself a little, but do you feel like Regenesis is going to change the ID card pool a little?
Absolutely going to change the ID card pool. Both Kitty and Beast are very, very good ID cards at low enough points to be called in by the Elders of the Universe. So that's going to improve that team, which didn't need to be improved.
Yeah.
Other than that, anything else from like Regenesis? I mean, I'm sure there's something else in the ID card pool. I'm not sure I know all of the dials in Regenesis well enough to say exactly what else is coming out of that. That new Psylocke is quite good. I'm not 100% sure about her, but she definitely has good potential. The problem with her is like you have to hit with her and then you have to hit with something else in the same turn, which is sometimes difficult to pull off. But when it works, getting rid of your opponent's defense powers is awesome. So it's definitely something to consider at least.
I feel like there may be something in the rare Iceman and the Rachel Summers as a wanted poster, mostly because they have hypersonic.
Yeah, we actually have a Rachel that can be called out from the Rachel ID. Yeah. We don't just have genes to be called out from the Rachel ID.
Exactly. And they come with their ability to poof them themselves because they both have hypersonic.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't had a real hypersonic call in quite a long time, actually.
Yeah. We add a Storm to the pool. I don't know if she's 50 points. I still think the Storm pool. I mean, we have the 85-point Storm coming around.
Yeah, that's really the best one.
Yeah. Oh, but that's not going to be legal for that event, is it?
No, I don't think she will be legal for Worlds.
So. Yeah.
I'm not 100% confident, but I'm pretty sure.
What else are we thinking? But as far as like the change in scope and focus of the game, other than of course what we need to see from Star Trek, which is the entirety of the set, which should be within the next 2 days. You mentioned those two. Do you think those call-ins give any other teams some options, or do you think that gives people hesitation on Kobik even because Battle Fury is one of the things gone? I don't know.
I mean, that might help against Kobik. I don't know that it's going to give her hesitation, but it might give you more tools to deal with her. Yeah. Again, Elders of the Universe was already a really good team, as shown. And just getting more call-ins that all of the Elders can do rather than having to drag along a 60, 50, or higher point character to do anything useful is quite good. Because really it was just Rusty that I could call in with anybody else, or that was reasonable to call in with anybody else. Other than that, so the really big thing that we haven't talked about is the WKO figures that are becoming, and rings that are
Right.
becoming legal for Worlds. The
Yeah.
biggest one, obviously, being the barrier ring.
0. Yeah.
Hey, super rare Green Lantern from Joker's Wild? How everybody thought he was really undercosted at 35 points? How
Yeah.
about we make him and he's 5 points?
Yep.
And he's the ring.
Apparently that barrier only costs 5 points for an entire
Yeah.
dial, guys.
Who knew that free action barrier plus costed action barrier and for some reason attacked on in cap? I don't know if the in cap will ever be useful, but did that ring need more powers in it?
I'm not gonna lie. Anybody sleeping on influence ring is got to wake up.
The Force Blast one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Force Blast catches everybody off guard when it's inconvenient, or one free knockback in the right situation. Or are you next to a wall, Kobik? That's a shame.
Yeah, effectively, it's if you have, let's say you have 2 traders and something else on your team, you have the influence ring on something. Effectively, you now have 3 poison damage that you can do after running across the map.
Yeah.
If she's standing anywhere near blocking of any kind. And if you grab a free barrier ring as well, you can make it so that she's standing near blocking of some kind. It's going to be silly. There's already a lot of object shenanigans going on because we already have some very, very good objects, and those are going to add some even potentially better objects to the pool.
Yeah. So now, do you think we remain in a metagame that is dominated by that cosmic keyword going into this, or do you think there is any potential outside of it?
I definitely think there's potential outside of it. I don't think I've explored it enough to say what it is. I think non-theme is always a viable option because just throwing a bunch of really good figures on a team is always going to be good.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think we'll be seeing Kobik dominating in the same way that she has been. I think she'll still remain a very good option. But I think part of the reason that she's so good is that she matched up very well against a lot of the stuff that people were playing beforehand. Mm-hmm. Power Cosmic was just kind of the best thing around, right? Yeah. Like, if a character had Power Cosmic, they were automatically put above almost everything else in your list of, is this character good? Would I like to play it? Oh, they have Power Cosmic? Yes, I would. And now Power Cosmic is not a liability, but sometimes just you have to treat the character like they don't have it, which makes them a lot less good.
I can't tell you, while I was building for this event, back before I went completely out of my mind and played 3 whales,
just a little out of your mind.
You know me, I don't play in the sanity realm. But I was looking at it, and every time I would see a character with a team ability, I saw it as a liability.
It depends on the team ability.
Yeah.
A lot of the time you just don't care. But, for example, Superman team ability, you really don't want to play anything with Superman team ability. It actively makes Mr. Oz significantly worse that he has Superman team ability.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I have stealth, and they're like, no.
Nope.
You don't actually. Call in Cyclops, swap team abilities, your Mr. Oz is dead.
Yeah.
And even worse, you're playing Mr. Oz and Unseen, and they're like, okay, so first turn, call in, swap, perplex up damage, shoot your Unseen, he's dead. Second turn, call in, swap, kill your Mr. Oz. There's 100 points gone. Mm-hmm. You thought you had stealth on them, you didn't.
Yeah. You thought you could hide from me?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite interactions in the game. Just realizing that Mr. Oz makes himself more vulnerable when facing a Kobik is really interesting. Obviously, he's still a great piece, but...
Yeah. The other thing to remember, guys, who are about to say, well, what about the 0 ring? Cyclops goes right through that barrier. Poof, what?
Yeah, and it's good, because now that we have so much free barrier floating around, I really don't want... it's really good that we have a call-in that ignores blocking, because barrier is just... When barrier exists and is plentiful, it's the most broken power in the game. Yeah. The ability to create blocking is always going to be really strong, especially for free, and 6 squares of it in a turn.
In the era of Green Lanterns, I would watch teams with multiple Green Lanterns and watch the barriers being placed, puke in my mouth a little, and go watch a game that was more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and any team that has a traitor and a barrier ring on it effectively has permanent barrier.
Yeah.
Because you can take an action with traitor, you can take an action with traitor, and then the next turn you can just swap it over to somebody else, and they can take the action while he clears. Yeah. Why would you play Isaac when you could do it like that? Obviously, there are many good reasons to, but it is potentially quite silly.
Yeah. I do miss the days where see-through blocking, destroy it, just saw through all the blocking.
Rather than one square.
Yeah. I mean, I get both sides of it. Trust me, I do.
Yeah, I mean, basically indoor maps don't exist.
Yeah.
If you do it that way, but also barrier is too good right now, so it's hard to balance it like that.
I have no doubts that was somehow anticipated as part of the Cyclops package. And, we were already dealing with this the Spider-Man package at the time. The 75 points, see-through blocking, blow up, see-through everything Spider-Man. Did he see through blocking? He didn't see through blocking, did he?
I don't remember.
Shoot.
I don't think I ever actually played him as a call-in.
Yeah,
like everyone else. I don't think I did.
I did as part of that team where there was one year where I just gave up and actually played the meta. And it did fairly well for me, I gotta say. And I think this is going to be the year where I start thinking. I mean, like you mentioned, the 2 rings that are on their way. I'm already considering them as part of teams that I want to build.
Yeah, I mean, you can play figures that are in the meta without playing the exact team, right? You don't have to net deck to play good teams.
All right. So if there's nothing else we can bring up right now, I'll just take a quick chance to plug the Patreon. Check us out at patreon.com/HeroClix. Any level support is much appreciated by anyone. We're kind of skipping the $5 call-in line today just because I wanted Devin to have a little bit of time to gloat as Canadian national, the true king of the North, the one born of the North, who belongs in the throne. Also called it. I feel like I was drinking at some point, and I said, you know who's going to be the first Canadian who wins Canadian national champion is going to be Devon. I mean, you didn't have to prove me right so quickly.
I'll take the quickly.
I look at it, it's like, am I a prophet? Why am I not getting this right for myself?
Yeah, you just got to start predicting that you'll win every event. It'll work.
I tried that. It didn't work.
Oh, darn.
It just came off as smack talk.
Yeah. Fair. Doesn't seem as prophetic there.
No. But I did predict... Oh, guys, those of you who watched last Monday's episode, I don't know if we mentioned, do you know who showed up on Sunday? In yellow shirt and all? That's right, Mr. Tom Kerr. He told lies on my channel.
He absolutely did.
He did. All right, but a lot of these questions are for you, so...
do we want to...
Oh.
Did we want to do like a more round by round thing?
If you know what? I mean, I wasn't sure if you're skipping it as kind of you didn't want to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go round by round through the Canadian Nationals, I'm sure the fans would love to hear how the games turned out and all the challenges you ran into.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do like a quick summary of each. Just didn't know which part was appropriate for that. Yeah, so round one, of course, I traveled to Montreal to play in the Canadian Nationals Championships, and I face Emily in the first round because we practice pretty much every week, and I've never faced her before, obviously. Yeah, so she's playing Vulture. She's playing all of the objects. Pretty much like 90% of what my team does is get rid of people's objects. So I won map. I picked Metal Arena. She placed her objects. I ran forward. I equipped her octopus arms with my collector, and I sidestepped back. The second turn, she moved up. She equipped her blood axe, which is her backup object, which would have been terrifying for me if it had remained equipped, because exploit weakness just kills my entire team. I really can't deal with it. Except that on the second turn, I ran up and gave Vulture a space gem, and my trader now had the blood axe. And then I got to make a free attack with my gardener to kill off her Groot. I stood there because even with all of her perplexes, she can't get through my heavy reducers. She hit my gardener down to last click. He had stealth, so she couldn't finish him off. And just from there, I traded the blood axe over to gardener, and I regened, and then got the steel energy off of free attacks and then costed attacks, and he got pretty much all the way back up to top dial as I slowly attempted to kill her team and missed many 6s to hit her vulture. But eventually it got through enough of it that I won 126 to like 30 or something, because I think she killed my Groot. And maybe my Mangog as well. Maybe it was more like 50. Okay, second round, I faced Abdul from the U.S. last year's, I believe, U.S. Nationals runner-up.
Yeah.
He was playing Infinity again. He really loves that piece. I don't think I've seen anybody else play it anytime recently. She is really good. I just have a problem with her dying. I tried her once. She just died almost immediately in like every game. So he was playing Star Fox, Unseen, Infinity Groot, and a Mangog. I ran forward. I stole his Mjolnir with my Collector. Second turn, he moved up to try to get past me to my Retaliators a little bit and like moved his Infinity away so that I had a harder time killing her. I killed his Mangog, positioned a bit. He called in a Cyclops to try to kill my Mangog and just missed 2 6s in a row and didn't running shot far enough away that he could poof his Cyclops. So the next turn I got to retaliate with Mangog, killed Cyclops, sidestepped over, punched Infinity, free action smoke clouded under Groot to punch him with Gardener, and just he had 2 figures left already. And then we just sort of positioned for the rest of the game. I made free attacks on things. He didn't have very much move and attack on the team because he had a Star Fox who just has phasing, and so basically it was just call-ins, but he only had the 3 call-ins. One of them was a Professor X, and the last one was a Wolverine or a Jean, I can't remember which. And so he just couldn't catch up to me enough to take any points, really. Round 3, I faced Jason H. He was playing a Kobik team, Kobik Trader Collector Groot, I believe. This was the round where I realized just how good Double Trader is against Kobik, because I took out his Trader quite early, and then I just ran over and stole Kobik's cube, double tokened her. So, he had a Mr. Oz as well. So I tanked his Groot and his Mr. Oz. I Cyclopsed his Trader to take him off of his special power at least. I ran over, made a free attack against his Trader to finish him off, and then just double tokened his Kobik. His Collector wasn't in position to see anything, and he didn't have any call-ins that were low enough points for his Collector to call in, so his Collector just had to move over. But the next turn I just put a free piece of hindering terrain under his Collector, made a free attack against him. When I hit, I gave him Battle Fury, so he couldn't make ranged attacks either. Yep. So he sort of sat there for a couple turns while I killed him, because he was double tokened at that point too, and I just double tokened his Kobik until I eventually killed it. My 4th round was against Mike White, my first of 2 matchups with him for the day. I moved out a little bit from my starting. So Mike was playing Kobik Unseen, which is my least favorite matchup when it's on an open map. I won map, so I picked Star Trek Underground. I moved out. He positioned a bit, but mispositioned a little bit and grouped his team up too much. I called in a Cyclops and tanked his entire team except for his Mangog on turn 2, which killed his Groot, killed his Mr. Oz, killed the Leslie Evans pug I'd given him, dealt 2 damage to Kobik, and dealt 1 damage through the Beetle Pod to Unseen. He moved up a little bit, made a call-in. His call-in missed, needing like 7s or something. I moved up, stole his Kobik's cube, double tokened her, dealt a penetrating damage. He retaliated with Mangog, needing 8s to hit things. I had 2 probs against it. He had 2 probs for it. He missed. And I just killed his Kobik and his Mangog the next turn, and then the game was pretty much over from there. He killed my tank, so he scored some points, but just couldn't actually get through it after getting tanked like that turn 1. And then my last game of Swiss was against Scott Crampton. At this point, I'm undefeated, so it doesn't actually matter for making it into Top Cut, whether I win this or not. Whereas Scott, unfortunately, I was the only undefeated by the 5th round, so Scott actually really needed to win this. Well, he thought. Scott was playing a really interesting team. He was playing Double Astronomer, Mr. Oz, and Vulture. And what it really did was when I won map roll, I was like, what map do I put him on? If I put him on an indoor map, I can't take his octopus arms. So his vulture gets to potentially kill most of my team. If I put him on an outdoor map, then his astronomers get to attack. And I eventually just was like, I would rather face 2 characters than 1, effectively, right? So I ran across the map. He couldn't really make attacks against me. He did a Harley Quinn call in to energy explode and double token most of my team, so that I couldn't attack him the next turn. But because of the heavy reducers, they didn't actually take damage. He slightly mispositioned his vulture so that he was actually still in range for me to make the free attack with Gardener the next turn. So I placed the hindering terrain under him, perplexed Gardener's damage up to 6, and knocked Vulture to last click with a token on him, so he couldn't take an action the next turn, hurried push to death. I cleared, he killed my Mangog, he killed my Groot, and I killed his Groot. I killed his Vulture with a call-in, and then it came down to just... and I free attack killed his Mr. Oz, so it came down to his 2 Astronomers versus my 2 Traders and Collector. And I just stole his Power Gem from one of them, so my Traders were attacking at like 12 and 4, and he was 11 and 3 with me having heavy reducers, so I chewed through his dial fairly quickly. And went undefeated in Swiss. Yeah, the Swiss was really good. I had a lot of really fun games in it. And then we took no break because they were already worried about how late it was going to run. I was very glad that I'd bought like 2.5 liters of water and some protein bars before we started.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I think I would have died before the end of the tournament.
Hydration and food, folks. I keep telling you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's very important. If you get completely dehydrated and out of food by the end, you're just going to make mistakes that you wouldn't have made otherwise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my first round of top 8 was against, I believe his name is John H.
John Hafford.
John Hafford, yeah. My opponent's name ceased to be written on my sheet at this point, so I forget. But I obviously know my top 4 and my top 2. Yeah, so he was playing an interesting Kobik Sheriff Strange team to activate Retaliation on a Tri-Sentinel. And he just made like a huge Alpha Strike on turn 1 to bring out Jean to try to kill my Mangog. Having 1 prob in his favor with 2 probs in mine and needing either a 7 or an 8, and he missed. So on my turn 2, I got to retaliate with Mangog, which killed, and he missed his shape change and super senses with Kobik, so I killed Kobik and Jean on turn 2. It was 90-point Jean, so I was already at like 205 points on turn 2 or something. And from there, I just like picked off the rest of his team for a while. It came down to his Sheriff Strange rolling super senses like 9 times in a row or something to make it really hard for me to kill him. And time was called right after I killed his Sheriff Strange. He killed my Collector at some point in there. And his Isaac was still running around. Yeah, so that was my top 8 matchup. It was a really fun game. It was unfortunate for him that he missed that first attack on Mangog, because if he'd hit it, he would have had a pretty good chance of actually winning that game, but missing it killed 200 points immediately, and it's really hard to come back from that kind of deficit. Yeah. Because as soon as I killed like anything else, so I killed his Cosmic Cube the next turn, and then I killed his Mr. Oz, and at that point I was almost at 300 points, so the only way for him to win was to wipe literally my entire team. So even if I'd gotten down to 1 character, I could have just run around for a while. So there really wasn't much way to come back into the game. He just went for broke and went broke. Unfortunately. And then we get to my top 4 matchup against Patricia Lamb. This was 2 Canadian matchups, so whatever happened, there was going to be a Canadian in the finals. She was playing Kobik Unseen. She won map. You've heard the rest of this story. A Mangog crit killed most of the team, and I made it to the finals for the rematch against Mike White, which was awesome. Getting both of us into the finals, the two people from our team and really good friend of mine, rematch of one of the WKO finals this year and stuff. It was really fun to face him in the finals. I won map again this time and took us back to the underground again. because there's really no reason to pick any other map against an unseen with my team. He did some positioning stuff and equipped turn 1. I moved up, and I called out a Cyclops, perplexed up his attack to a 13, killed his Mangog turn 1, carried forward, free action smoke clouded under his Groot to kill his Groot as well. He's already behind at this point. He makes an attack with a call-in against my Collector and hits, taking him down 3 clicks. I try to kill his Mr. Oz and fail. Most of his team is double tokened at this. 2 of his pieces are double tokened at this point. His Mr. Oz runs away. His Collector does his Kobik does a call-in to double token herself, and I think misses the attack. Yeah, needed like an 8 and just missed the attack with that call-in. I ran across the map. He had picked the orange cube because when he picked the blue cube the first time, I just double tokened him for the rest of the game, and he just didn't feel like that was sustainable, which was reasonable. So I ran across the map. I stole the orange cube from Kobik. I made a free attack with Gardener against his Mr. Oz, which took him out this time. On the next, he had to clear his Kobik. On the next turn, I asked him which power I couldn't pick from the orange cube. He told me attack, so I picked Battle Fury, got my my trader up to 3 damage, and took his Kobik down to the other clicks, made a free attack with Gardener to finish her off, and at that point he had an unseen with a couple of call-ins. He used those call-ins to try to kill my Retaliators, but only killed Groot, and just then had no offense left. So that was the end of the game. It was a good finals. Unfortunate that he missed a couple of attacks in there and stuff, but it was really fun facing him in the finals, and it was a really fun tournament in general with a lot of really good players who showed up. It was a really good top 8.
Yeah.
Everybody was a really good player.
It was a really good pool of players, too. I remember just looking at everybody going...
There may not have been the most players that we've ever had, but it was a really talented pool in general.
Absolutely. There wasn't a single player where I looked at it and went, there's not an easy match in the building. But I mean...
Yeah, exactly.
There
was nobody that,
right?
if I'd been paired with them first round, I would have been like, Yahoo! Obviously, Emily was probably one of the matchups I really didn't want, but...
Yeah.
Nobody I would have been excited about.
All right. Well, I just shared something with you. Thanks, Nate White, in our Discord. We missed some previews. At San Diego Comic-Con, more things got previewed. More Star Trek, as a matter of fact. So we'll just go back to our good old preview monitor. We'll get rid of my items there. So we have, Dial specifically, we have Galron from the Klingons. He's got a trait, your blood will paint the way to the future. Once per turn, when a friendly character that's adjacent or has a Klingon world keyword is damaged by an opponent's attack, after resolutions, remove an action token from a friendly character that's adjacent or has a Klingon keyword. His special damage power, he acts under my authority as a Chancellor of the Klingon High Council. Leadership. When Galron uses it and succeeds, choose a friendly character that's adjacent or has the Klingon keyword. That character has autonomous this turn. He's got Klingon, Politician, Ruler, and Warrior keywords, and he's got the Klingon Empire team ability, which if his attack rolls a 10 to 12, after resolutions, remove an action token from this character. And then he's got a 100-point dial we're looking at there with Indomitable, Running Shot, Precision Strike, was a mastermind. He's definitely a leader sort character.
Yeah, I mean, listening to that description of the powers, I hadn't seen the point cost yet, so I assumed he was going to be quite low. And he is not.
But I think this falls under the uncommon rarity, so he's not...
Oh, a top-down mastermind.
Yeah. So, it's one of those situations, like you said, it makes the Swarm team really strong, but Vulture makes it almost impossible to decide to want to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he'll be good in sealed. Anything with running shot, decent attack values, except that there probably isn't sealed for this set.
Yeah. I mean, and subsequently, there's a politician keyword team growing or a ruler keyword team growing somewhere, and maybe the idea of having some adjacent politicians or rulers to
I think for ruler, there's probably better options.
Yeah.
Not sure about politician. I don't actually know what even has the politician keyword right now.
Not sure myself. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I remember looking at it a few times.
I know Prez has it.
Prez, there we go.
I still want to find a shell for him.
Yeah. Robot
really,
keyword.
like Green Arrow Prez seems like a great start.
Maybe Prez is that robot leader we need or deserve.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of is. If you're playing robot, you kind of have to play Prez because playing with 3 actions sucks.
Yeah. All right, next up, Lieutenant Commander Geordie LaForge. Starfleet and scientist keywords. Ignores hindering for line of fire. His glasses are better than my glasses. We're going to have to time this.
And grilly.
Yeah.
I'm sure they
are. We're going to have to time this just right. Free. Choose a friendly character that's adjacent or has a Starfleet keyword and roll a d6. When the chosen character attacks this turn, modify its damage +1 for each die in its attack roll. That's the resulting number.
Why? That's all I have to say to that power. I mean, it's okay, but, like, why?
Yeah. Well, let's see here. His special damage power. Wait a second. There we go, Captain. Try it now. Probability control. When he uses it to reroll an attack roll of an adjacent friendly character, you may choose to reroll only 1 die.
That is good. Any power that allows you to reroll only 1 die is good.
Yeah, because, like, well, I'm going to keep that 6, but let's try this other number here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I needed an 8? Okay, now I have only a 1 in 6 chance of missing this attack.
Yeah. And this is on a 4-click 40-point dial with the Starfleet team ability. I mean, that first ability is neat. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the prob, and he's a scientist, your favorite keyword. The first ability is neat. It's not why you would play him. You would play him for the second one.
Yeah, the second one is the one you're going to get. The first one is just a, hey, that might work sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, why not, right? Like,
yeah.
Sure. Since I am playing this 40-point really good prob piece, let's also have it potentially give me extra damage.
All right. So next up, Commander William T. Riker. I'm going to spoil alert right now. He's got the Q Continuum team ability.
Why?
First, well, it's Starfleet and Cosmic, and I'll explain. There's an episode at one point, for a brief moment, Q gives Riker the powers of the Q Continuum.
Okay, because I've watched the show, but it's been a long time, so yeah. I don't remember every episode.
Like, it wasn't a whole episode where he had it, but he
right.
It might have been the plot of an episode. Now that I think about it. Anyway, he spent a little time as a Q.
Cool.
I should never have made you that promise is his trait. When a friendly character without a promise token that's adjacent or has a Starfleet keyword would be KO'd by an opponent's attack, you may instead turn them to their last non-KO click and give them a promise token. If you do, after resolutions, deal Commander Riker 2 unavoidable damage. If that character is 50 points or less, deal him 1 unavoidable damage instead. Hey, cool. So, like, everybody kind of gets a stop click, kind of?
Yeah. And you're probably playing mostly characters that are 50 points or less anyway, so like 1 damage each time for a stop click isn't terrible.
Mm-hmm. He's got a special damage power, or attack power rather. Use your powers to save them. Telekinesis as free, but only to target a friendly character that's adjacent to an opposing character and to place them adjacent to Commander William T. Riker.
That's really weird.
That's a really weird specific telekinesis.
So he has to be within 6 squares of them. And they have to be adjacent to an opposing character. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
It doesn't say regardless of line of fire or range either, so.
Nope. You just have to. It's very narrow.
Yeah.
Not bad necessarily, but very narrow.
And he's got a special defense power with the snap of the fingers, energy shield, and super senses.
And that attack power doesn't give him normal telekinesis as well.
No, it doesn't.
That sucks. If it gave him normal telekinesis as well, then it might be fine still, but as is, it's probably just not useful.
All of this comes attached to a 125 point or 100 point dial that has phasing across the entire movement spectrum.
Stop giving people phasing. Give them sidestep instead.
And some flip-flopping probability control. Like
phasing is only good on characters that can carry things.
Yeah.
Which he does not.
No,
really? He doesn't even get prob across his whole dial?
No.
Taking 1 damage... Like, it's placed strategically so that if you take 2 damage from each one with over 50-point characters, you'll be on prob all the time.
Yeah.
But if you take 1, you will be off of it half the time, which sucks.
You're sitting there going, You dealt me even damage. Thank you. I keep my prob.
Yeah. That trait is really interesting. I'm not sure it's attached to a good enough figure to actually be playable.
No. All right. Next up, Mirror William Riker.
Okay.
Mirror Universe Soldier and Spy keyword. His trait, Opportunistic Maneuver. Free. Oh, God. Hold on.
Yeah. Take a deep breath for this figure in general. That's a whole page of special
wow. Oh, my God. All right, here we go. Opportunistic Maneuver. Free once per turn for all characters that can use this trait. Choose a friendly character that took 2 or more damage from a single attack since your last turn. You may place Mirror William Riker within 6 squares in line of fire of the opposing character that made the attack. You may then replace Mirror William Riker with another character that can use the Opportunistic Maneuver trait from your sideline on the same click number.
But we don't know anything about anybody else with it yet, right?
Not yet. No. And
I assume it'll be the other Mirror Universe people.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be other chases, as a matter of fact, too. And actually,
is he a chase? Oh, he totally is. Okay.
And this comes from, I believe, a comic, Mirror Broken.
Cool.
All right. Next up, Advancing Through the Ranks. When this character is placed by a character use of the Opportunistic Maneuver trait until your next turn, this character has opposing characters within 6 squares can't use team abilities.
So it's like if you have the other one out, they use the Opportunistic Maneuver and swap. Then opposing characters within 6 squares can't use team abilities.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And his next trait, Shape Change. When Mirror William Riker uses Shape Change and succeeds, give him a mirror token. And if he fails, remove all mirror tokens. When he uses Shape Change, increase the result by +1 for each mirror token. A roll of 1 always fails.
Okay, so I'm not always a fan of this kind of design. It is good, but Shape Change that gets harder to get through as they succeed more and more is just annoying. If you're playing it, you're like, oh, I failed it once? Well, that sucks. And if you're playing against it, they succeed and then they literally can't fail after a while.
Yeah. It's a lucky win that wins more, and that can lead to some pretty feel bad moments. And then he's got a special damage power, Beat Respect into you.
Hey, that's quite the power damn.
Whoa. When Mirror William Riker hits an opposing character with 2 action tokens, he deals penetrating damage. Also, when Mirror William Riker damages an opposing character with an attack after resolutions, give that character an action token.
After resolutions. Okay, so he can't give them an action token and then deal penetrating damage.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Man, that is one of the most convoluted figures that I've ever seen.
How much would you pay for this figure?
Really cool stuff, but weird.
Yeah. Well, this character comes in at either 100 or 75, or via the Opportunistic Maneuver trait.
Yes, which we have to assume will still cost 100 or 75 because it wouldn't make sense to swap characters different point values with each other, right?
All right.
Wait. Sorry.
Oh. There's a couple more.
Same click number. Okay, got it.
Yeah. There are a couple more figures towards the bottom here that kind of didn't make the cut. I believe Picard is in here somewhere. There he is. All right, got him. All right.
Which Picard?
Captain Jean-Luc Picard. If you look in the images at the very bottom. Okay. So his Starfleet and politician are his keywords, and his trait, I don't feel comfortable around children. When Captain Jean-Luc Picard is attacked by an opposing character with tiny, modified defense -1.
Okay, I love it.
His defense power, do as you must, but don't harm my crew. Defend energy shield deflection. His damage power, Captain of the USS Enterprise. Leadership, when Captain Jean-Luc Picard uses it and the result is 6, you may instead remove an action token from all friendly characters with the Starfleet keyword within 6 squares, including himself. And I'm almost certain this will be a 5-click, 50-point dial with that leadership across the dial because he's Picard. And he has that special defense power for 3 clicks with 6 range. Other than the laughter about Picard's adversity towards children, what do you think of Picard?
I think he's a great leadership for Starfleet theme teams.
Oh.
That's it.
Yeah. A couple over from that is the Starfleet Ensign. They come in at 20 or 15 points, and it's going to be one of those, if you pay 20, like pick a dial, 15, let your opponent pick a dial.
Random or not.
Yeah. So.
Oh, no, opponent chooses. Right, yeah, I remember.
It's a situation where there's like 3 really good dials that I would rather choose for 20 points, because there's one with TK, one with Perplex.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you'd rather choose, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you can get a 20-point Perplex, or a 20-point TK, or if your opponent chooses, you get a 20-point 8 and 10 and 2 sidestep close combat expert.
Yeah.
Because why would they ever choose any of the other dials?
Mm-hmm. Then over from that, we have Tasha Yar, Starfleet martial artist and soldier keywords. Her trait, Mr. Data, you jewel. Tasha Yar is adjacent to a friendly character named Lieutenant Commander Data. She reduces damage by 1 in addition to any other effects. Her special defense power, Interstellar Aikido. Combat reflexes, toughness. If an opposing character misses Tasha Yar with a close attack after resolutions, you may place that character adjacent to Tasha Yar. Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, it's a flavorful 50-point common.
Yeah. This
Rare.
actually seems like it would be a fun sealed set if you could play sealed with it.
Yeah.
I actually think a lot of the pieces are very well designed for sealed.
Yeah, they really should give us a sealed.
Why doesn't she have close combat expert on click 1?
That's a good question. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. Why would she be
charged on click 2?
Like
I would get it if they just didn't want to give her close combat expert charge, but they did.
Yeah.
On click 2.
So
I don't know.
Did she forget about it, or did she? I guess she goes in with the phaser blasting.
Yeah.
That's my excuse for it.
Oh, and we're getting a super rare Spiral apparently in X-Men.
Yeah, there's some images there of super rare Spyro. There's
Fabian Cortez, and I don't know any of the other acolytes well enough to tell you who that is.
The Kleinstock brothers. There's actually 2 guys that are supposed to be in that kind of like flop out of each other. So that's probably going to either make... Well, the 33 points are probably going to make more of them.
I know exactly 3 acolytes. I know Colossus was one, I know Fabian Cortez, and I know Exodus. And that's despite having read the comics that the acolytes are in.
There was... I can't remember her name, but she was a woman who turned into gas.
Yeah. Didn't... what's her name?
Something.
Yeah. And then there was also... No, wait, was she an acolyte? I don't remember, actually. I was going to say the super strong black woman.
M?
No. I forget her name. She's like a... I don't remember.
I'm pulling up the acolytes, list of acolytes.
Okay, yeah, we have to figure out who the actual acolytes are.
Just so we don't look completely foolish. I mean, I read the book so long ago, it's not... And the Fatal Attraction story was not that great.
Let's be honest. The acolytes are not compelling characters most of the time. Amelia Voigt is the doctor you're thinking of.
Amelia Voigt, yeah. I remember she was a really good card in the Versus System game. That's why she kind of stuck in my head.
Yeah, I think... Oh, Cargill. I think that's maybe who...
Joanna Cargill?
Joanna Cargill, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah. Frenzy. That's the name I was forgetting.
Yeah.
Got it. Who else is here?
I can't remember. There's a guy with a whip, too, and I can't remember his name. Sunyaka. That's who it is. Suvik Sunyaka?
Sunyaka is one of them.
Yeah. It has this, like, draining whip. It's... Honestly, it would be cool to get them all. I don't think they were very... Like, they were in the animated series very briefly, and that was one thing the animated series had a habit of doing. It's like, if you know comics... Pay attention, because these guys are going to be here. You're not going to hear the names. There they are. Fabian Cortez is powering Magneto. That's the only one you need to know. They're gone, and they're gone.
That's all you needed, really.
Yeah, that's almost literally how it went. And
yeah. I remember the acolytes who got a major story, which is Exodus and Fabian Cortez.
Yeah.
and then there was a kid that they tried to execute for some reason, and Frenzy showed back up later.
Yeah. And there's some kind of side story with Professor X and Amelia Vogt.
Right, yeah. I remember her. I just didn't remember that she was an acolyte ever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's looking like a cool set. There's a lot of HeroClix coming down the line. hopefully, we can squeeze some of the Star Trek into Worlds. We know that Team Worlds is going to be played with X-Men animated series, which is exciting news.
It'll be cool because it'll be the first time anybody ever plays with those dials. It should be interesting. It's
like the absolutely bonkerous pre-release ever.
Pre-release for all the Marvels.
Yeah. It's like we've gone from pre-releases that don't matter, pre-releases don't matter, this is the pre-release now!
I mean, I'm happy about it, because I don't like to play, Team Worlds with figures I already own all of. That's not fun.
No. My concern, of course, is that end of the game, end of the tournament draft that we have to do. We have to do it now. It's like,
Last year was the least contentious end of the tournament draft of all time because we got factory sets.
Yeah.
And we were like, why would we care? Let's just all keep what we played because for memory purposes, that's it.
Memories. But yeah, I'd be like, when you win, that's how that feels.
Yeah. Otherwise.
Yeah. I only ended up with just
Have you done
primes.
win record down snake drafting?
We've done that one. That's what we usually do. When there was a point where you didn't get 3 of each prize.
Yeah.
So we had to snake draft the prizes, and that's awkward. That was the most awkward when it was me, Mike, and George. It was like, no, it wasn't me, Mike. It was me, Mike, and Tom, and we were all like, okay, so what are we all going for here? And I had the worst record, so I was like, well, I'm not getting any of the cons that I want, am I? Because I'm like, so Mike would grab one. I'm like, oh, I wanted that one. All right, Tom, I wanted that one. I already have all the other ones. All right, let's just grab the ones.
Should have had a better record, I guess.
Exactly. But the thing is, and I have said this before, when we do the Team Worlds, I'm usually the guy that puts together from the leftovers. And Uncanny X-Men was not the good set to do that with.
No.
Because Uncanny X-Men, most of the packs were pretty much picked clean by the time you built 2 decent teams. It wasn't like Secret Wars Battle World where it's like, there's still 2 other teams we could build here, guys.
Yeah, literally last year, some of our chaff was the centerpieces of your teams.
Yeah.
That got you to top 4.
Exactly.
None of those figures were bad.
No, that was such a good set, and I was glad that it was the Team Worlds thing because the Thanoses were really rough on the format for Team Worlds, but at the same time, it's like, sure, you got one guy with a Thanos. What are the other 2 guys doing, right? So
yeah, nobody else had other good things with Thanoses.
I mean, I'm just gonna say Thanos was the only super rare that we played.
We played 2 super rares and a prime.
Yeah.
And they were all really good. Yeah. It was the common prime, but it turns out the common prime is really good. That's
it. All right. So I think we're actually finally through all these previews. You got through your description of the tournament. I apologize. I thought kind of open up the floor to that. So next time we'll be clear. It's like, tell us up everything.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. But with that, it is time to move into our questions. We're going to be starting on the Discord, and then we'll move into the Facebook, and then we'll move into chat. If you're watching live in the chat, capital letters questions so that I can see it in the chat. Okay, so there is my... Okay, so that's where we go here. All right, so David C. wants some advice. Do we buy an Exospecs or a Star Trek The Next Generation box? If it was me, I would buy the Next Generation box, and it just hold your breath because Exospecs is about to tank in pricing.
I would absolutely buy the Next Generation box. Yes, Exospecs is going to tank in price, and also, as much as Exospecs seems like it should be really good, the meta where there's so much stuff that deals with objects makes it not actually worth the 12 points usually.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. If you told somebody that there was a pick-a-power object a couple years ago, they would be like, okay, so it's on every team? And you'd be like, no one really plays it.
No. Well, how do people deal with it? It's super easy, not even an inconvenience.
Exactly.
All right, and yeah, in the Discord. By the way, Nate, thank you very much for linking the San Diego Comic-Con previews there.
Yeah, they were good previews actually.
They're really good.
Mirror Riker is interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff. I want to see what the other Mirror Universe, Next Generation stuff looks like,
and what keyword it has.
Yeah, so there's that. But they pulled from the Redemption 2 partner elsewhere in the set. I wouldn't be shocked to see a data 2 with lead. Okay, there might be a data with leadership. I will say I do know a lot about Next Generation, but I think Nate has me beat on Next Generation knowledge. So, I mean, Nate's super Trekkie. I'm a jack of all nerd. So.
Yeah, I've watched Next Generation, but it was a long time ago.
I was also very young when I watched a lot of it. I was like 7.
Yeah, same.
So.
My parents were huge Trek fans, so they showed us a lot of the Trek stuff when we were kids.
All right, so we're going to start with... the community group was quite talkative today. Speaking of Nate, he wants to know, and this one's directed at you, Devin, what's it like... Get out of their reactions. What's it like to bring upon the apocalypse in being the first Canadian to win Canadian Nationals?
Feels pretty good. It was really my goal. I was actually born the Antichrist, and it's been my goal my entire life. Turns out, for some reason, that the only way to bring on the apocalypse is winning Canadian Nationals as Canadians. So I've had to train really hard at HeroClix to do it.
So there you go, guys. There it is. All right. Next up, Sharif. We know Sharif locally. He wants to know, do you feel Outwit is becoming less relevant due to all the Power Cosmic figures in the current meta? Also, what are some figures to look out for in the future to combat Kobik and or Trader without using Kobik and or Trader? I'm not going to say that Outwit's becoming less relevant, but make sure the character who has Outwit does something else. Because...
Yeah, if you're playing an Unseen without a Kobik, and you don't have enough IDs, he doesn't do anything at all. I think that Outwit is... So, there are two characters with Outwit that are super relevant still. There's Unseen when played in conjunction with Kobik. And, well, maybe not super relevant, but potentially relevant. Possessor has a very good Outwit. Is Possessor good in general? Not necessarily. But that Outwit is awesome. So, if you can afford the 100 points somehow, maybe. But yeah, anybody else with Outwit, I don't know. It just... There is so much Power Cosmic around, you're not going to get to use it all that often.
To kind of add to that, Asia did have a fairly strong team that included Possessor.
Yep. She came like 9th or something, right?
Yeah.
10th?
Yeah, her team was really good. I played against her in the practice, we used as the practice constructed. I used it as to play a silly animal team constructed. Man, I got to ram with Dupe at least 3 times, and I was happy.
Awesome.
One of them was a 6 on a Medusa.
Nice. Just one shot through a Medusa.
Yeah. Well, it was. I ran through 2 Medusas, and one of them took 6, and one of them took 2. I was like, 8 damage? Sure, I'll take the 2 damage.
That's true, actually. 1 action, 8 damage. That's pretty good.
All right. Also, dealing with Kobik and Trader is the other part of this question. Without using Kobik and Trader.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, obviously, as I talked about a little bit in my description of Canadian Nationals, one of the easier ways to deal with Kobik is to play traders and steal her objects. The only other person who really deals with objects is Collector. Don't rely on his in-cap to take away people's objects. It's going to happen very rarely. So really the best answer to playing against a Kobik trader is to play enough fairly tough things that they can't kill all of them with just call-ins, and you have enough threats that they can't just double token you. Mm-hmm. That's really the answer, I think. I'm not sure anybody's hit upon the perfect formula for a team like that doesn't lose to other things like Vulture, but I'm interested to see people try.
Yeah. All right. Next up, and this was a very, very heated debate on the last day of Canadian Nationals. Incredibly heated debate that's continuing into this show. John Eric Hafford, your opponent from the top 8, wants to know, in a fight, what wins? A silverback gorilla or an Alaskan grizzly? I want your input because I did some research on this one.
Okay, I did no research on this to start. Man, is there something special about Alaskan grizzly? So polar bear, I would definitely say the bear, I think. But grizzlies are a little bit lighter, I assume. All of this is just off of random extra knowledge. Silverback gorillas are very large and very strong and probably have the reach advantage. But I don't know how aggressive they are necessarily. and
Well,
they don't have the sharp
peak aggression.
teeth.
Like something has pissed them both off.
Yeah. I think it really depends how tough bear skulls are. Can they handle being punched? I'm going to say they probably can, so I'm going to go with the bear, but it's close.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did do a little research on this one. And I need to do more to give the full-blown death battle blow-by-blow. But here's what I did with some cursory research. On an initial Google search, a silverback gorilla rates at about 4 times the strength of a human male.
Really? Only 4 times?
Grizzly bear only rates 2 times as strong as a human male. Now, there is a weight advantage. A bear will weigh more, which is actually incorrect when compared to a silverback gorilla, because they are solid muscle. This is specifically the silverback and the grizzly bear that we are working off of the information of. In addition to which, so in pure strength, the silverback gorilla is actually significantly stronger.
Yeah.
What's more is there's an agility quotient. If there's any off-terrain or hills, a bear will not be able to run downhill. A silverback gorilla can go downhill no problem, can also climb trees. Bears cannot climb trees, so there's an agility factor to this.
Black bears can climb trees. Can grizzlies not?
I don't think grizzlies can.
No, they seem too large.
They most certainly can't do it as well as a gorilla.
Yeah, that's fair.
If they can climb a tree, they're not doing it like a gorilla can. In addition, a gorilla has 4 hands and opposable thumbs on all 4 of them.
It's true.
So, I do have to kind of give it to the silverback gorilla, but it does depend on terrain. On flat ground, the bear might still have some kind of an advantage, a charging advantage, whatever. But we have to assume a forest-type scenario.
Yeah, bears have charge, and gorillas just have leap, climb, super strength. So.
Yeah, and flurry.
Bears charge blades, gorillas leap, climb, flurry, super strength. There we go.
So, all right, Nathaniel.
So it really depends on the reducer.
Yeah. All right. Austin wants to know, and he says, Devon, Metal Lab crew, the Borg Queen, does she have a place in the tournament scene? I feel like we need more Borg to know for sure. That's what I would say. Devon?
I would say that the ability to steal opposing retaliators seems extremely strong. She's really expensive to do that, though. So if you come up with other uses for her, yes. I don't think you're going to be making the attack very often, so you're going to be taking damage. The ability to get back like a Surtur or a Mangog requires you to take 3 damage, at which point she's off invincible, which isn't great. A Gruto's only 2, which is fine, but are you spending 100 points just for an ID battery that is not that hard to kill and that brings back an opposing retaliator? That doesn't quite seem worth it. So if you come up with like a really good way to use her autonomous uptick, then yeah. Otherwise, probably not. That ability to bring back opposing characters is very good. I'm just not sure whether the rest of the stuff it's attached to is quite good enough.
You would actually need 3 plot points to get the Groot, though, because you need 1 plus 10, or 1 for each 10.
Oh, is that? Oh, so you need 4. Okay.
Well, you need 3. You need 3.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying you'd need 4 for the Surtur and Mangog.
Yeah. For Surtur's 25, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so you need 3.
Oh, okay.
Because it goes 20 to 29.
That makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. There was more here. But Ryan Stevenson has one. Thoughts on ID cards. Would the game be better without them? I get the design idea on them, and I do kind of look at the current state of the game and say the game isn't played with what's on the board as aggressively, but the board is doing something differently in that matter. So I would say it would change, but I don't know if it would be better, to be honest. I don't know. What do you think?
So the problem with everybody who's always like, I don't want ID cards, they should go away, which I don't necessarily always disagree with, because I think it makes really good defensive characters just much better than really good offensive characters, which I don't necessarily like. But the problem with just getting rid of them is that then retaliators are insane.
Yep.
Like, pretty much the main way to deal with retaliators is either mind control things to kill them or use ID cards. Those are pretty much, or just kill them all in one turn. Those are your only options, really. And retaliators are already good enough with ID cards existing. So until all of the retaliators rotate out, I would not want to get rid of ID cards, because I think that would just lead to a very retaliator heavy meta.
Yeah. I also want to just point out, too, is we'll be using less of our collection again. And that's a big
Yeah,
thing.
that's also true.
Because when we had resources and stuff, like, there's a lot going on with the number of characters that I had on the board in a lot of cases.
But it would make build sheets
like
easier
more.
to fill out.
It would. It would make for easy build sheets. Now, I'd still use trouble alerts.
Yeah, that's true.
But honestly,
Even if you never call any of them in.
yeah,
How many trouble alerts did you call in on Sunday?
I had the chance to call in 5 or 6.
I had the chance to call in exactly 1, and I didn't call it in.
And every single board state when I made the final miss was irresponsible to put one in.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, so the first one was when I had already killed everything on his team but a Kobik and was just double tokening it every turn.
right.
I was like, what's the point of this? I could bring one in, but it doesn't actually do anything here. So I just didn't bother. And then the second one was against Scott when he had literally just one astronomer left. And again, it was like, I could bring it in. It doesn't actually do anything, so I don't see the point.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I do feel like every time these things disappear, you start to find out exactly how boring this game is without them. That's a thing I've noticed for sure. It's like there'll be this brief period where resources are gone. It's like, I'm not really doing anything exciting. It's just back to year 1 HeroClix for like a week and a half, and then something new comes out. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're back in the game here and having, we're doing.
Yeah, I do
things.
just like having more options.
Yeah.
Any turn where you have only like I can either attack or I can clear, and those are your only 2 options, is a very boring turn of HeroClix.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be like, I could do this or this or this or this or this. Which one is the best? That's when it gets interesting.
I enjoy a degree of complexity to my tactical strategy suit. That, granted, I'm also the biggest the biggest guy, or the one guy I know of who will just forego them for a team sometimes. Like every monster build I've ever come up with, I've just been like, I don't feel like it.
They do make whales better.
I know, but I wanted to make whales.
True. Rather than whales, Wolverines, and Cyclopses hiding inside of a whale-shaped suit.
It's like, what? Oh, look, a Wolverine came out of my dorsal fin.
That is definitely the best thematic way to justify ID cards. Wolverine just got swallowed inside of a whale for a bit.
Oh, it's disgusting in there, eh? All right. Next up, Michael Fedor wants to know, how prevalent were the gems in the entire tournament overall? You probably got a better key for them, because I was in the low tables and I only saw the entire time 4 gems, and they were all the same ones on Amber and Matt Ryan's team, which were basically the same team with slight differences.
Yeah. So if we're talking about main force, the answer is Amber and Matt Ryan. As far as I know, somebody might have played main force reality gem for their unseen. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see it, but I know it's a thing that people do. Mm-hmm. As far as characters who come equipped with gems, paying for the gem trait, everywhere.
Yeah.
As far as specific gems, I would say time gem, power gem, reality gem, space gem. 4 that actually got used. Mind gem / soul gem, nobody cares. Ego gem, really nobody cares. Unless it starts equipped to your Thanos.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Chip Barnett. Hope y'all had a Molson or 2 to celebrate. Well,
no.
The little higher level beer, please.
Yeah, exactly. But also, we drove back afterwards at very late hours, so we didn't really have time.
Also, is there a popular IPA y'all like from your regions or provinces, brewery? He wants to know what brewery it is and where somebody from the Pacific Northwest would find it. I'm going to say this. I don't know where Americans buy their beer.
That's true.
It's usually in like a convenience store or a liquor store or something to that degree. But I don't know where you get your specifics. So I'm not going to... I can't answer that part of the question for sure. Because we live in our province, Ontario. We only get our beer and liquor at the LCBO or the beer store. Those are the only places, and it's basically all government run. So, that aside, I'm not much of an IPA guy myself. When I do drink IPA, it's... Is it called Angry Squirrel They all have weird names, man. Like, what are you drinking? Angry Squirrel, Wacky Monkey, Flying Monkey. That's one I've tried. I'm not an IPA guy myself. I'm more of a lager man. So, and I drink traditionally Sapporo as my beer.
I do enjoy Sapporo. I'm not a huge beer guy in general. I like beer and I will drink it. But when I have a choice and there's a good cider around, I'll do that instead. If somehow Pommy's cider, which is made in Ontario, has made it out to the Pacific Northwest and you don't mind a good dry cider, I recommend that. But I doubt it has. It's made it to everywhere within Ontario, but I'm not sure it's gone international yet.
Yeah. Also, I mean, when it comes down to it, I do enjoy a good amber, but a lot of my ambers that I drink, beyond my wife, guys, just control yourselves. Three Brewers, if they do sell something outside of the restaurants, is really good. Along with Mill Street, they have a good amber. So if you can find that one,
yeah, Mill Street does a bunch of good little beers actually.
Yeah, they're a good entry level if you're going into that higher end beer. Like you start with Mill Street and kind of move your way across the.
They always do like interesting sample packs and stuff, so you can try some interesting beers, even if they're not like the best. They're available and not ridiculously expensive for interesting stuff.
Yeah, and they often have really interesting flavors, like coffee flavored beer sometimes.
Yeah, so the first beer that I ever tried was a dark pumpkin flavored beer from Mill Street. I did not like it, shockingly. I don't know why that was the first one I ever tried.
Were you wearing Uggs when you drank it? So I'm not sure where you guys get your Canadian beers imported, but take a look around for some of those brands if that's your thing. We're not really a beer podcast or show, so, and we don't have Tom. Tom is definitely, like, if you're looking for unique taste in IPAs and beers and liquors and stuff like that, Tom Kerr is the man you want to talk to, and unfortunately he couldn't be here today, so maybe we'll repeat the question for him next time he's on. All right, we move into the chat. What's up in the chat? Not much. Okay, cool. That's it. That's all the questions. Yay.
All right.
Devin, anything you wanted to say before we started wrapping up?
Don't think so. Thanks for having me on. Good to be able to talk about the Canadian Nationals event and the win.
It was a pleasure having you, Devin. It was a pleasure being there in spite of the issues that there were. I want to thank Carta Magica for all the effort that they put in, and I want to say that they did a good job in spite of unfortunateness that did occur. I want to thank Kenny Pena for helping communicate with them, probably helping to spearhead some sort of investigation or look into it. I want to thank you guys at Team Pusheen for having a good old time with us. I enjoyed playing the Switch in your room for a little bit. Guys, try Ultimate Chicken Horse at some point. It's like competitive Mario Maker.
That was a super fun looking game.
KO hair near what? Medusa, KO hair nearer, or any.
Yeah, I don't know what that one.
I don't understand. Listen, Carter, please put together a coherent question so I can catch that. I don't quite understand what you're asking.
Yeah, I also read that, and I also don't know what.
Because I don't think KOing hair is going to help on the Borg Queen situation in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, is this Borg Queen related in some way?
Is that what you're talking about? I don't know.
I don't know why. Maybe there's something we're missing here, but I can't figure it out.
His dinner turned into gas.
Apparently.
I hope this is not like is something being lost in translation. I'm not sure. Borg and Medusa. I don't see an interaction in the Borg Queen and Medusa. The hairs aren't going to do much.
I was thinking about whether there was any effect that cared about friendly bystanders being KO'd, so that you could play a bunch of Medusas in that to do something interesting with it. But I don't think there is. And I don't think anything in the Borg has it.
The hair's actions already don't count towards your action total as they're autonomous.
But
the Borg. Oh, he's saying the Borg team ability. I mean,
but wait, sorry, is that any friendly character that it heals?
Yeah, any
don't
friendly
they both
character
have to have the Borg team ability?
No. They have to be adjacent and die.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I guess
yeah.
it's
It's
interesting,
a thing,
but
so you can sit there and plot point and push, or do they get KO'd or removed from the game when they're too far from Medusa?
I think it's KO'd.
Because that
but I'm not
wording
sure.
could get tricky too.
I assume it's KO'd.
I assume it's KO'd too, but sometimes you never know. I'm pulling up Medusa now on HC Realms.
Same.
This is the riveting part right here. It is KO'd. Okay, so yeah, man, you can pop off Medusa hairs and do that. So
I thought both had to have the team ability for
which
some
means
reason.
you can sit there and plot point up, but you're committing 150 points to maybe get 30 of theirs quickly, and you still
Yeah, because you have to
commit
keep your
another
Medusa
150 points
alive.
to your team. So, because Medusa does have to stay alive for all that to work. So, pay attention to that.
I guess.
As well. And you're taking the damage at the end of the turn. Your opponent can still capitalize on it.
Yeah, because then they can still kill you with just 6 from a Cyclops.
But that does work with a lot of Borgs. If they happen to be damaged or not on their regen click, you could, if you want to do that.
That there is something that cares about friendly bystanders just being KO'd.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. We got to use the Borg team ability. Now we got to get those plot points on her.
Yeah, it's just so many turns.
Yes, it is.
Do something useful.
All right. So thank you guys in the chat for watching live. Thank you guys for watching in the archives. I want to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. $3 a month gets you access to the Apex Insiders. I'm sure they're going to contact Devin to get some brain dumps into his, get the brain dump from Devin to find out about Canadian Nationals. Has Patrick talked to you yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
I haven't actually responded, but I will. I've been busy. My bad, Patrick.
Yeah, he's been busy getting home and then working, so give him a break. Not all of us are in Pacific time. But anyway, so check out the Apex Insiders. Great minds go and dump their brains into that, and it will really help you. It's a good starting point for anybody looking to get into competitive play. It is also where you can find out about what's happening in the meta. They're really good at staying on top of what's winning and what tournaments are occurring. And
just seeing all of the winning lists is really useful a lot of the time to make your own. Even if you don't want to play exactly one of them, just getting some inspiration is always a good thing.
Yep, absolutely. We also do want to take a second to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Check us out there, and you get access to the patron Discord, and all kinds of cool stuff comes from that. As well, our next patron hangout is around the corner. Come Sunday, August 4th. Will be the next one. Yeah, we're good on that one. I was like, is anything happening? I'm having my parents over for barbecue, but they won't be here that late. So, and then it's a holiday on the Monday, so I can sleep in and everything like that. So,
nice.
That said, thank you guys very much again, and you guys have yourselves a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys next on the show. Keep your eyes on the channel for more content, as we did lots of Move and Attack content, as well as our own recap in the car from the Canadian Nationals event. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.